I'm 81 years old, and my closest friend of 60 years is gone. Not gone the way people usually mean, with a funeral and a stone. Gone in a quieter way, the kind that takes a long time to notice and even longer to understand. I've had years to sit with this now, plenty of empty mornings, plenty of time to replay things I didn't think mattered when they were happening. I'm not telling this because I want forgiveness. There's no one left to give it. I'm telling it because I finally understand something I didn't have the sense to see when it could have changed anything. Most days now are slow. I wake up early, even when I don't want to. My body seems to think it's still needed somewhere. I sit at the kitchen table with my coffee and listen to the house settle. There's a chair across from me that stays empty. Not just his chair, all the chairs. When you get to this age, the quiet isn't peaceful, it's just quiet. I think about him a lot in the mornings, not because something reminds me of him, because nothing does anymore. We met when we were both 21, two young men who thought we had plenty of time and very little to lose. I was working at a small printing shop back then, long hours, low pay, ink always under my nails. He came in one afternoon to pick up flyers for a band he played bass in. He was loud without trying to be, not obnoxious, just alive. We got to talking about nothing in particular, music, girls, how we both felt older than we were. By the end of the week, we were having beers together after work. That's how it started. No big moment, just two people choosing to keep showing up. We did everything together for a long time, moved apartments, chased jobs, made bad decisions, and laughed about them later. When I got married, he stood next to me. When his mother died, I sat with him in silence because there was nothing else to do. We didn't say best friend. We didn't need to. It was understood. Life didn't fall apart all at once. It never does. I got a better job in my 30s, management, more responsibility. I told myself it was temporary, that things would settle down. He kept playing music, bars, weddings, small festivals. He never made much money, but he seemed content in a way I didn't question. We still saw each other, just less often, once a week instead of every few days, then once a month. I remember saying, "We'll catch up soon." I said it like it meant something. At the time, it felt reasonable. I had a family now, a mortgage, a schedule that didn't belong to me anymore. I didn't feel like I was choosing work over him. I felt like I was choosing responsibility. That's an important difference, at least when you're young enough to believe it. He used to call me on Tuesday nights. I remember because I started letting it go to voicemail. Not always, just when I was tired, just when I told myself I'd call back tomorrow. Tomorrow became next week. Next week became when things slowed down. They never did. He'd leave messages about nothing, something funny he saw, a song he thought I'd like. I saved a few, deleted the rest without listening when my inbox got full. I didn't feel cruel. I felt busy. We still saw each other on holidays, birthdays sometimes. The conversations got shorter. We talked about the past more than the present. That should have told me something. In our 40s, he started looking older than me. Not in a bad way, just worn around the edges. I noticed, but I didn't ask why. I assumed there would be time. There's a moment I think about a lot now. It didn't seem important then. He invited me to one of his shows, a small place, maybe 30 people there. I said I couldn't make it. I had a report due. I remember feeling annoyed that he'd even ask on such short notice. He nodded when I told him, said he understood. I didn't go. I never heard him play live again. The distance between us didn't come from a fight. That's the part people don't warn you about. There was no argument, no harsh words, just a slow thinning of something that used to be strong. We were still friends, I would have said if asked. I believed that. He stopped calling as much. I noticed, and part of me was relieved. That's hard to admit even now. Relief feels ugly when you look back at it. When we were 50, he moved across town. Not far, 15 minutes by car. We talked about visiting each other. We didn't. I told myself we were just in a quieter phase. People say that. It makes neglect sound natural. Years went by. I watched my kids grow up. I climbed higher at work and felt emptier doing it. Sometimes I'd think of him late at night, wonder how he was, then I'd roll over and fall asleep. I didn't feel like a bad friend. I felt like a normal man doing what was expected. That belief stayed with me for a long time. The call came on a Wednesday afternoon, an unfamiliar number. It was his sister. I hadn't spoken to her in decades. She told me he'd been sick for a while. Cancer. By the time they caught it, there wasn't much to do. He'd asked about me near the end, asked if I was busy. That part still stings, not because it hurts my pride, because it sounds like something I would have said. I went to the hospital the next day. He was thin, smaller somehow. He smiled when he saw me. Not wide, just enough. We talked about old stories, the kind you tell when there isn't time for anything else. I wanted to apologize. I didn't know how. There were so many things I could have said. None of them felt right sitting there with machines breathing for him. Before he left, he squeezed my hand. He said, "I'm glad you came." He didn't say anything else. Neither did I. He died 2 days later. At the funeral, people told me how much I meant to him. They assumed I already knew. I nodded. I accepted their words like they were true. It wasn't until months later, sitting alone in my house, that it began to sink in. I didn't lose him all at once. I lost him slowly through postponement. I lost him through all the times I thought I was being practical, through all the times I believed presents could be rescheduled. That's what I finally understand now, at 81. It wasn't that I didn't care. It was that I treated caring like something that could wait. There's a special kind of regret that comes from that, not from cruelty, from delay. If I had yelled at him, I could explain it. If we had fought, I could tell myself we were stubborn. But this was softer, quieter, harder to name. I assumed the foundation was permanent. I assumed history would hold us together without effort. It doesn't work that way. People don't drift apart because they stop loving each other. They drift apart because they stop choosing each other in small ways. I see that now in everything, in the empty phone, in the way my days stretch without interruption. There are things I can't fix. I can't sit in that bar and hear him play. I can't answer those voicemails I deleted. I can't tell him I was wrong to think there was always another chance. Time doesn't negotiate at this age. It just keeps taking. I don't talk about this much. People don't know what to say when you admit you failed quietly. They expect regret to come from big mistakes, affairs, betrayals, abandonment. They don't expect it to come from being too busy.
If you're listening to this and you still have people from your early life around, I hope you understand something I didn't. Familiarity is not safety. History is not insurance. The people who knew you before you became who you are now don't stay by default. They stay when you show up. I'm not telling you to do anything. I don't have that kind of authority. I'm just saying that the moments you put off don't disappear. They pile up, and one day they outweigh everything you thought you were building. At my age, memories don't come in order. They arrive randomly. A joke he told, the sound of his laugh, the way he tapped his fingers when he was thinking. I hold on to those.
They're all I have left of us. I still talk to him sometimes, not out loud, just in my head. I tell him things I never said when it mattered. He doesn't answer. That's fair. What surprises me most is how ordinary the loss feels now. Not dull, just woven into everything. This is what people mean when they talk about living with something. It doesn't shout, it settles. If this meant something to you, if it stirred something you weren't expecting, I'm glad. Not because I want company in regret, but because noticing early is a gift I didn't give myself. I don't have much time left. I know that without drama. I spend my days carefully now, not efficiently, carefully. Some evenings I sit in that kitchen chair and imagine him across from me. I don't pretend things would be different. I just let the quiet be what it is. This is the truth of my life, as honestly as I can say it. I didn't lose my closest friend because of hate or anger. I lost him because I thought there would always be later. There wasn't.